What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. So we're just gonna get right into this, not gonna waste any time because I got a lot to cover. If you're here watching this video and you somehow missed the previous one, I'm gonna put these in a playlist where you can watch them in sequence so all of this makes sense. Real quick before we get started determining these panel layouts, I wanna give you a tour of the room because it is important to the process. So we've got this wall right here, and that's the one we've been working on, obviously. Then it comes along this long wall right here. Then it wraps this bullnose corner right here. Then we've got this door right here that's gonna get the same casing as our door over there with that back band casing. So then we'll keep going this way. Got an even larger wall. It's gonna look really nice right there across that big span. And then we've got this small section right here, the window, under the window, and then against the door. Now, for those of you who claim you have OCD and just want me to finish that because it's been off for like the past 2 videos, I can't do that yet because I've got to tie it in to the wainscot right here. And the reason I say you claim you have OCD is because a lot of people say that and they don't really know what OCD is. It's a very serious thing. I know what you mean though, you just like to have balance, but look into real OCD, you definitely probably don't have it. It's very serious. All right, the first thing I always do when I'm determining these panel dimensions is I grab whatever material I'm using as my vertical stiles, in this case a 1x4, and I push it up against the endpoints. Now, since I build my wainscot in units and I install it in units, I just refer to where it terminates as an endpoint. So anywhere there's a door casing, that's an endpoint. It has to terminate there. So with that, I push it up against it and then I just draw the line, which I already did that in the previous video. Now that this line is established, that's not gonna change. That's a definite, for sure thing. Everything in the field here from endpoint to endpoint is variable. So we've established that endpoint right there. Now we're gonna establish this endpoint right here, and this will be our first unit right here. All right, so if I push this 1x4 into this corner here, you can see it's right on my pencil line that I made. And when I put it here in this corner, you can see it's right on that pencil line that I made. So we could see that clearly. When you have a full 1x4 on one unit of the wainscot, you've got to rip it down on the opposing unit to 2 3/4 of an inch, in my case, because I'm using these 1x4s. So now what's revealed here from here to here is 2 3/4, and what's revealed from here to here is 2 3/4. You don't want to do this. So I got another piece of scrap of 1x4, and I have made this mistake where you just build the unit like that. So now we've got a 2 3/4 inch reveal from here to here, and then a 3.5 inch reveal from here to here, because we want the same reveal. So if you were standing right there where you're viewing from the camera and you look at this, they're gonna be showing the same material on each side. So hopefully that makes sense, but that's very important because you want this to look the exact same. So you have a 2 3/4 inch reveal on each side when you're looking at this in the corner head on. Now, when you're doing it this way and you're only showing that reveal of 2 3/4, you might think that it's gonna look wrong if you're only revealing 2 3/4 here, but everything else is 3.5. That's not gonna look right. But I'm gonna tell you, it looks perfect. It looks absolutely right. I've tried other ways. I've tried to make it where you split the 1x4 in the middle here, where you have like 1 3/4 and then 1 3/4 revealing. It just looks too narrow for the corner. It just doesn't look right. Again, personal preference. You can do it that way if you want. I recommend, again, you draw some lines or you cut some samples and look at it. But personally, I would steer away from that. It just looks too dinky really in a corner. Corner needs to look a little bit bigger. But on the flip side of that, let's say you want the exact 3.5 inch reveal in the corner as well, which means you would take a 1x6 and rip it down to where even when this one hides it, it's still showing 3.5. But that looks too big. This is the sweet spot right here. I'm telling you, I've probably done 80 to 100 wainscot installs, and I've experimented with a lot, and this is what I go with. But again, personal preference, try it out. Now, another thing I want to address is another good question that came up was, what if one of these walls, I'm just assuming these walls are plumb, is that okay? I actually find that it is okay for the most part, but here's my personal experience. You can take it for what it's worth. I don't really ever even throw a level on these, because even if they are just slightly, you know, out of plumb, you can always just shim it and shim the back and just meet them up somewhere in the middle, and your eye will never see that little bit of shimming. What I've found is that in a span of 40 inches, you're not gonna have a huge slant. Check out that beautiful sky right there. It's getting dark outside though, and unfortunately I recorded a lot of footage earlier explaining the stuff I'm explaining to you, and it just didn't work out with the audio and video. So we're gonna get back here and try it again. Thankfully this camera is good at low light. So let's pick up where we left off. That's YouTube for you. Sometimes you win some and you lose some. So now our next step in figuring out these reveals brings us to this bullnose corner. Now this bullnose corner right here becomes the end point for this big wainscot unit on this wall. It's the only outside corner in the room, and I'm glad it's here because it brings up another one of my theories. Now keep in mind, I call it a theory because it's totally up to the installer. My theory on this, an outside corner, is I'm going to go with a full 1x4 here and the full 1x4 here, because in my theory, when I'm standing and looking this way, I don't see this wall. Or when I'm standing and looking this way, I don't see this wall. So it's safe to go with the full 1x4 right here. Take it for what it's worth. Again, I'll keep saying that over and over, but do what you want. So what I need to do here is establish my lines on this bullnose corner. And I'm gonna be wrapping this in that bullnose fashion. I will not just be putting two 45s and making this, you know, a sharp 90. I'm gonna have it that bullnose 90. So if you have bullnose corners, get one of these. It's not even a question, just get one. They're so cheap and they're worth it. I'll put a link in the description below where you can check it out. Now what this does, it's a bullnose trim gauge. It's just gonna wrap this bullnose corner, and watch how easy this is gonna make my life. So we'll go about right here, about 40 inches, and just pull down. Hold your pencil in there. You can see how quick I marked that. That line right there is key to where I'm gonna put my 1x4 board right here and establish my endpoint. So I'm gonna do it on this side as well, because I need one over here too. Done in a matter of seconds. So now what I can do, I can take my 1x4 and hold it up right there. Hold it straight on that line, plumb right there, and then mark the other side. But I can't do that yet, because what I need to do is miter that vertical stile, because I'm gonna have 22.5 all the way around this 90-degree turn. So if you do the math, it's simple. 22.5 times 4 cuts is gonna get me that 90-degree turn that I'm looking for. Got the table saw here set up to 22.5 degrees. And all I have to do is make sure that when the blade rips this board, that I still get the full 1x4 width. So I'm gonna rip it right to this outer edge here, because I need that full 3.5 inch width to show up on my wainscot panel. Might take me 1 or 2 chances to creep up on it, but no big deal. Better to creep up on it than to cut it too short. So if we look at this board right here that I just ripped on the table saw at that 22.5 degree miter, there's a few things I want to point out about it. So the face of it that's going to be exposed facing outwards, the finished side right here, which is this side, it should still be 3.5 inches if I ripped it properly, and it's right at 3.5 inches. So we're good there. The next thing I want to point out to you about this board is that the left side that has the miter on it, you can see it has this long point right here and this short point right here. This long point is called the toe of the miter. The short point is called the heel of the miter. This part of the miter, the heel, we need to put that and line it up exactly with the pencil line we just made with our bullnose trim gauge. Once we do that, we can run our pencil along this non-mitered side, this flat stock side, and that'll give us our perfect dimensions for that wainscot unit. So remember, that short point of the miter is the heel, and we're gonna put this right on the pencil line. We're gonna put our heel right on the pencil line. You're gonna line that up just like that. I wanna get it perfect. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. Then I wanna hold it firm. We'll just come on the other side and mark it with my pencil. And that sets the parameters now for this small unit. Now, if I was to just do it with a 1x4 that wasn't ripped, let me show you how off that would be. Because I've made this mistake before where you're going quick and you're trying to get things done, and you don't want to do this. So I'll mark this one too. So that is the space right there of that miter. So let's see how much that is. That is a 3/8 of an inch. So make sure when you're laying this out for these reveals that you go ahead and miter even the sample for making your marks. So I'm going to do it on this side too. So this is what we end up with right here. Shows us all of our reveals and gives us dimensions that we can work with now when we go to determine panel width. So that's how you would do an outside bullnose corner. If this were a 90-degree corner without the bullnose, you could just miter two samples together and mark it in that fashion. All right, so real quick, I want to talk to you guys about this door right here. This is unique. If you remember, I did a video when I set this door and I talked about how it needed to be perfectly spaced here and here. It needed to be split perfectly even. Now that comes in very important right now at this point, because I'll show you something. When I put this casing here, see if I can get this. All right, when I put that like that, you can see there's a space back there where I'm definitely not going to be able to fit any type of wainscoting panel, obviously, or anything really. So what will go back there is simply just a 1x rip down to fill in that area. It will get a cap and it will get a baseboard at the bottom. Same thing on this side. There won't be any space here to put anything of significance. So it'll just be a ripped down piece of 1x material and it'll go right there. Now this door casing will be in before we move on and start building these units, but I just wanted to point that out. Anytime you have wainscot where it's going to turn into a small area like that, all you can do is really fill it in with 1x material. So next we'll go over and talk about the window. So you can see my window here is not cased yet either, and that'll probably be one of the next upcoming videos where we case this and get it ready for the wainscot application. But I could still figure out my reveals and check everything even before I case this window, and I'm going to show you how I would do that right now. So the way I can mark this window without even having it cased out yet and check the reveals and everything is just using this little marking tool that I made. It's really easy. It's just my window casing nailed into a simulated jamb extension. So my window casing and door casing is this here. It's a 1x3, 1x2 and cove molding. This is just a scrap 1x3. Now my window jamb is going to be wider than that. I think it's like 4.5 inches, but just for the sake of the tool, I mean, this doesn't have to be exactly what it really needs to be. So this will hug around the window jamb, and then I can mark here, and that will tell me exactly where I need to begin my next style. All I gotta do is hold it so that it's flush with the inside jamb here, and then I can just simply take a pencil and mark this side of it. Now I only have to mark it from about 40 inches down. I don't need to mark around the whole thing, because all this is doing is it's just establishing where my next vertical style is going to begin. So I could just mark it like this, just mark it like that. Or if I wanted to, I could take it a step further and just tack it in. And then at that point, I could hold my vertical style up against it like this. Make sure it's nice and flush. And then I could mark right there. And that now sets the parameter for everything this side of the window. So the left side of the window. This process, the exact same thing will be followed on the right side of the window. So here's an up close look at that. Like I mentioned, the jamb simulator is much shorter than it needs to be, because again, it's just a simulator. But the casing is true. The reveal is true. I'm gonna have that actual reveal when I case this window out. So everything here gets me the dimensions that I need to get this wainscot unit laid out for this side of the window. I'll probably do a whole separate video on, because it's gonna be a challenge, and that's gonna be this back band casing meeting up with my cap. But what I'm thinking is I'll bring my 1x2 cap and just notch around the back band right here, and then just cut that back band short so I can have my vertical style just go straight into the casing, and then I can end the cove molding here, and it can just continue to go up. So there won't be any cove molding from about here down. So that's what I'm thinking. If you have any ideas, let me know what you think. But that's pretty much it as far as setting reveals and getting everything ready. It's very important that everything in this video is taken into consideration if you're gonna do this yourself, because you can waste a lot of time, especially after you build a unit and you find out, man, it's wrong. I should have done this or should have done that. Oh yeah, and one other thing, I got a lot of materials here. I got materials that I'm staging right here, and look at that. I got the handrails in and the square balusters. We went with the square balusters, and we're just about to take all this Christmas stuff down because the season is over. But I like the way this looks. Let me know what you think about it. All right, so that's gonna do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. And please leave your questions and comments below. We're gonna be building the units, casing that window, casing the door in the next few videos. If you have any questions regarding that, let me know, because most of the content of this video right now that you're watching was from questions from the previous video. And I think we're just gonna keep it rolling like that. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one. Take care.